I'll take the floor now and feed us. Well, let's welcome Lord, with our clap.
Habari ya asubuhi. Bwana asifiwe. How many were here the last time I came? Okay. So many people, I can see, Madam Director, there are many people who have come after that. So I'm making new friends. You know, every meeting is an opportunity to make friends. If I meet you in heaven, we shall remember we met at Kianjai.
Yes.
That is if you're on your way to heaven. Yes. I am. Yes. And it's we are all speaking of the same thing. We are talking about the personal life of the head teacher. And just simply talking about how to lead yourself. How to lead yourself. That's what our discussion is all about. We are not talking about how to manage the schools. We are not talking about how to be a parent. We are simply talking about how to lead yourself. And as I was thinking, I thought how I was not given a very long notice, but I'm not complaining. The possibility that I could talk to head teachers is a possibility I don't want to miss. For 3 reasons. Number one, I was told that a child after primary school has already a fixed worldview. What is worldview? Worldview are the glasses through which you see life. After primary school, anybody trying to teach you something, you always compare it with what you know. But if you talk to a third degree child, everything the teacher says is right. As you remember, we used to live in Kisumu many years, in the 1980s. I was the manager for a Shell company in 1980s in Kisumu. And I still remember our child going to a primary school, another school that was owned by an Asian. And our daughter came home talking about voter. And I said, what is voter? Mommy, give me voter. You know that's the way some Indians talk, isn't it? Instead of saying water, they say voter. No, so my wife is trying to correct the child. Say, but what did you say? Now, in other words, if the teacher says, even the mother cannot correct. You know what my wife did? She went to the school and privately talked with the owner, the Asian, about my daughter talking about voter. Do you know the following week our daughter was calling it water? Because as long as the teacher corrects, then it must be. Am I communicating?
Yes.
Do you realize how many headmasters have ruined people's children? Because if they trust you, it doesn't matter what the parents are saying, they believe the teacher knows. Am I communicating? So I am talking to people who can either build or ruin the next generation. So I would not want to miss every opportunity. And you need to understand that. I think it's a Catholic priest who was heard saying, give me a child before they are the age of 10, and they always be Catholics. Because anything else they hear, they always compare it with what the priest taught them. Now, so you need to understand that the high school, they are called principals, are also important. But the truth is, they are not as important as you. It is not debatable, it just happens to be the truth. That by the time the children go to high school, whatever the teacher says, that my teacher said. That's why we say teenage challenges. Have you heard of managing teenagers, how difficult it is? It is simply because the teenager has his own voice. They say teenage is the age where you think you are an adult, and yet you are not. Because they feel like, Papa, but you know I'm an adult. You talk to a teenage and you tell him to do something. No, Papa, but I'm also an adult. Then you tell him, now that you're an adult, go and look after that farm. No, but I'm a child. Make up your mind. You are parents of teenagers. Am I right? They are totally confused. Now you are the children at a time when whatever you say is right. A few children are difficult, but majority of them repeat when the teacher enters, good morning teacher. Isn't that what they do? Just go to university and imagine they will greet you. Now it's very important to understand that you are having a very special privilege Because whatever you say, whatever you do, how you do it, will affect the next generation. I know, the first time I went to primary school was 1958, and I think the teachers had special places, because the teacher was the most educated person in the village. Now these days, things are not exactly the same. But we thought that the teacher was everything. If a teacher passed near your house, you stood up, although it is your home. Because the teacher, the parents, everybody respected the teachers. But then after some time, teachers started behaving normal. They drink alcohol and they sing goats, exactly like my father. Am I communicating? So all of a sudden the child is confused. Because teachers are special people. The only person that is educated. Now you don't know, I've told you the first problem is your behavior affects the child. But the second problem is your behavior confuses society. They no longer know how to treat teachers because of one teacher that walks in the village like a drunkard. Am I communicating? And they wonder, is that the one teaching our children? So when I'm given an opportunity to talk, I'm giving you reasons why I count it a privilege. Because if you start learning how to lead yourself, number one, you are going to make the children become better people. Number two, you give the teaching profession dignity. Am I communicating that far? And when you give the teaching profession dignity, it makes the parents trust you with their children. Am I right? And it makes the children, because some of the parents, whatever you teach, they can't criticize at home. But at that time, the parents believe the teacher has started that, they never contradict the teacher. The parents will never contradict the teacher. It's very important to understand. Let me repeat what I was saying. A child's worldview is totally made before they are teenagers. Totally made before they are teenagers. That means, for the rest of their life, it's what they learned in primary school and earlier that will be regarded as right. I used to work, like I told you, I used to work for Shell, but I left Kisumu and I was in top management of Shell before I retired. And I still remember having a visitor from London, and I was taking him to Mombasa. And in Mombasa, after we had done Shell work, I wanted to give him a treat. So I took him to a restaurant, a seafood restaurant, where I normally don't take myself. They are very expensive. Seafood restaurants are very expensive. So, but of course, Shell was one paying. I'm entertaining their visitor. And there was somebody called Tamarind restaurant on the north coast. And that restaurant, I don't always feel like that, but that restaurant, you enter the boat when you're ordering the food. Then they would go around the creek in the Indian Ocean, would go right across to the other side and see for Jesus. By the time you come back, the meal is over. But they had no other food. It was sea food. So initially you are given drinks. When sometimes you are told, come and order. Instead of giving you a menu, you go where they're ordering. When we went there, we found there snails and crabs. The sight of them, I without realizing, I started walking backwards. By that time, my old man is saying, John, how can you be this good to me? He's going forwards. We are going different directions. And he explained to me that for them, seafood restaurants are so expensive in London, the father would only take them when it's properly loaded. You understand, loaded? So, but for me, I can't imagine a human being eating snails. And then, those crabs that move in every direction, they eat you, you don't eat them. But now you're supposed to select it, then it is cooked for you too. So I asked the man, do you have any other food? Now what's the difference between us? By the time I was growing up, I was told those are not edible. They are not for human beings to eat. But for him, he was told, when we are loaded, that's the food we eat. By the time we are adults, our worldview tells us, this is terrible. The one thinks it is fantastic. But you're looking at the same. What happened? Primary school. Are you getting my point? Where we grew, what was regarded as acceptable and normal, determines what. Now we are managers. We are senior people. We are flying. But the truth is, what happened to us in primary school is what is carrying on with life. And I don't know whether you know about that, because you are taken too much with the miniscore. Oh, miniscore. But that miniscore can be very mean, because by the end of life, you have real children with a high miniscore, where you have a miniscore that is very mean, because that child has gone out properly clever but foolish at the same time, because he was not given a rounded thing. Remember, Madam keeps saying you cannot divide up success. Are you getting it? So I thought my message as I come, why we are talking about this topic, is because if you lead yourself well, then you are assured that the children that are going to leave your primary school will not just have a high mean score, but they will also be successful in every of your life, because they will have the right worldview. Again, I repeat, what is worldview? The glasses through which you see life. If I wore green sunglasses, all of you will look green. If I change those ones and wear the red ones, all of you will look red. So primary school headmasters are the ones who give glasses to people that they will wear for the rest of their lives. That's how important you are. And because of that importance, Madame thought that we should spend time talking about how to lead yourself. Because if you don't lead yourself well, you might get the mean score, and even that one you might not get, but there will be trouble. I want to quote somebody called Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu says, mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. Let me repeat. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. That's what you need to understand. The fact that you are able to lead a school, I'm the head teacher. Thank you. But how are you leading yourself? Are you able to master yourself? Then somebody else called Henley said, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That's what you are supposed to be. Nobody else should. And that's important for you to understand. You want us to go back there? I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. The guy is called Henley. I'm only quoting. I want to quote another one from the African Review magazine. It says, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. It's important to understand, for us to call you a leader, first of all, grow yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. In other words, you start with growing yourself in order to have the ability to grow others. Unfortunately, many of us, our interest is the main score. How do my children get? We forget about ourselves. And I think that we are that idea, isn't it? And that's really what we are here to talk about. And this will help you to be a leader. I want to quote Dee Hock. That is D-E-E-H-O-C-K. Dee Hock, who is the founding CEO of Visa. He said, if you seek to lead, invest at least 50% of your time in leading yourself. Are you a head teacher? Are you not a leader, isn't it? Then understand 50% of your time to be spent leading yourself. Let me go on with the quotation. What are you leading? He says, your own purpose. In other words, let me ask you, what is your vision of life? Just come with my friend called Mr. Gitau, and he's an engineer who left the university not too long ago. And we were talking, and I was telling him the most important thing in life, in order to lead yourself, is to lead your own purpose. Always check, am I in line with the purpose? And your purpose cannot be teaching. It's wider than that. Why are you created? What problem in life were you created to solve? Are you solving it? You know, a lot of people think their job is their purpose. Others think that their career is their purpose. I happen to be the chairman of the Shell Pension Association because I work for Shell. I'm the current chairman. Last 2 weeks ago, we had our annual general meeting. And Mzee rose up during the talk. I gave him an opportunity and told us I retired in 1982 during the coup. That's when he retired. So we asked him, how old are you now? 96. And then Mzee is just walking. In fact, he came to a platform. And I was telling him, you get up from there. You're near 97. But he came himself. 97. 96. How long has he been retired? 40 what? You know, he retired at 55. He's just about to, he has worked much long, he has lived much longer than he worked. My friend, if your purpose is teaching students, soon enough you'll be told you are too old. By the time they tell you are old, you are just a boy. Who goes at 60, if you are dying at 90, can you see how young you are? What are you going to do for the rest of your life? Dr. Gatere said, if you don't know how to lead yourself, after retirement, you will die in 3 years. Why 3 years? Because of having nothing to live for. For example, your farm has been going on even without you. Then you retire, you go there and you are additional labor. Because your wife knows how to manage. Without you, am I communicating? Then you go there and say, you know, I'm the owner of the house. Then you say, well, Gatere give a very serious example, where the guy was a senior CEO in Nairobi. Now he goes to Nyeri and he wants to, so the agriculture officer is passing. He said, the agriculture officer, when he comes, now it will be me talking to him. Because I would like us to move our coffee from here, I want us to plant it over there. When he said that, the wife burst into laughter. They said, no, I want to talk to the agriculture officer. When he came, he was just going his normal duty. He said, I want to talk to the owner of the house. He said, I'm the owner. No, I don't mean you. The owner. Look at the Grigacha, we call it the Grigacha. Grigacha knows who the owner actually is. This stranger is not who I want to talk to. I want to talk to the, what do you think the man is feeling? Does this guy know who I am? So you have a husband. Okay, I can talk to you. What advice would you like? I want to move this one from here to there. The Grigacha also back into laughter. Like they had talked with the wife. Now you need to understand, within 3 years you are dead. Or because you don't know how to lead yourself. Because leading yourself has nothing to do with your job. You are leading yourself before the job came. You must lead yourself after the job. So you must have a purpose in life that is not tied to your TSC. Because TSC will get rid of you at 60. Am I right? For us, they got rid of us at 50. I'm 70 days here, and they got rid of me at 55. We used to retire at 55. Can you see how long I've been retired? As young as I am. Now you need to understand. You need to understand that the thing that has kept me is the fact that in Shell, it was not my purpose. My purpose went beyond Shell. And that's what I'm doing to you, is what I was doing. Even in Shell, I used to be in charge of about 10 countries. And I went from country to country talking to them exactly the way I'm talking to you. The only difference, they paid me. And they paid my flights. Now I retired, they don't. But you need to understand, it's what I was born to do, I'm still doing. And you need to understand that if you don't know your purpose, my friend, you have a life to endure, not a life to enjoy. So, D. Hawk says, you must use 50% of leading yourself. How? Your own purpose. And I've written a book called Discovering Your Life's Purpose. I don't know whether it is in the bookshop. We had agreed with the director to check for me whether the bookshops here can sell my books. But there's a book I've written called Discovering Your Life's Purpose. And if you're around 60, you need to read the book. So that your purpose, you know, is not your career. Your career is not your purpose. Career you stop. Your job is not your purpose. There is something to do, you will do until you die. You remember the chorus we used to sing? When it calls me, I'll answer. Why? I'll be working So when you die, you should still be working. There is no retirement. Retirement is not a biblical word. We must continue working until we die. But what will you do if you have no clarity of what purpose is? That's very, very important to understand, that if you want to enjoy your life, even beyond retirement, you must ask yourself, why was I born? What am I supposed to achieve? And is this job helping me to achieve it? After this job, what else can I do that helps me to achieve the purpose for which I was born? Am I communicating? That's what you should be spending time thinking about that. Number 2, DeHock says, you must read yourself on the issues of ethics and principles. You must keep checking. What am I, like I was telling my friend, everyone must have what we call core values. What are core values? These are values that are non-negotiable convictions. They are so important to you that you are willing to be fired rather than do them. What are those principles you have which you are willing to be jobless rather than break them? If you are a young lady and the boss wants to sleep with you, if you have a value of being a virgin until you get a man, even if it is the age of 45, he will not touch you. Why? You are willing to lose your job. You are willing not to have promotion because virginity and sexual purity is your core value. What are your core values that are so important to you? You are willing to be jobless rather than break them. My friend, if you have nothing to live for, if you have nothing you can die for, you have nothing to live for. You need core values that are so important to you. They are guiding you. When you are working, the way you are working, they are no. You know, like I was telling my friend, core values are boundaries within which you travel. You know your purpose, but in order to go to that purpose, you can't break this and this. You better be a failure than break them. What are those? Or are you the kind of a person who hears people talking in the bar and you go do the same? You know, for me, women don't trouble me. They say, trap them, change their dental formula. Now, the guy talking has never touched his wife. But you start imagining that's how to be a man. So when you arrive home, your wife asks you, where have you come from? Then you direct her to the hospital with your own money. Now, you need to understand clearly. You are a fool. Are we together? Now, I'm not one calling a fool. You know you are. Because you need core values. And you can have a core values. Which says, I will never touch my wife with my hands. It's a value. She can call you what she wants. She can insult you. She can do whatever. But you know that's a no-go zone. It's a decision. You made it. I've been married about 43 years. It's not that we don't get annoyed, but you know that's not an area you can. Once something is your core values, you will never get tempted to go there. And it's important. For example, I have a core value that I don't want addiction of any nature, because my neighbor here is talking about it. So at least I have never been tempted to drink, leave alone to be drunk. When I worked for Shell, I had a budget. All my years in Shell, because I entered at an executive level, I had a budget for entertainment. That means if I take you out, you can order a drink. But I would never be tempted to order for myself. Why? It's a core value. In other words, I don't want to drink because it's expensive. Even if somebody is paying for it, I don't. I'm not communicating. You need core values. And once people know your core values, they actually they stop tempting you. I still remember early in the years of Moi, early 90s. One day my name just appeared in the Kenya Gazette. Moi had appointed me to a board. I was a director in one of the Parasito boards. And I bumped into somebody on Harambee Avenue. And he told me, hey, I heard you are now a director in such and such a corporation. I said, oh, you got about it? Because obviously it is in the Kenya Gazette, it doesn't appear everywhere. Oh, I heard about it. Yeah, we read it, and two of your friends were talking about it, and he said, but it's useless for Nganga to be a director. I said, what do you mean I'm useless? You cannot help anybody. Why? I know your principles. I said, you mean people know me that well? But you know what that means? In the years I was a director, none of them came for help because they knew I cannot compromise. I cannot use the national assets for personal friendship. Am I communicating? So they don't bother. When you're a headmaster who can't play those monkey games, nobody will come to you offering money because he knows it is not part of your deal. And you're not one, don't bother. There was a time a friend of mine was saying, I bumped into a contractor. I used to be digital manager when I was, that years ago, I was a digital manager for after I left Kisumu, I became digital manager for Shell. And somebody told me, I bumped, in fact, it's from somebody, is a customer, client from Mary. He said, I met him. And he was asking me to tell him, what does Nganga need? So I asked him, what did you tell him? He said, Nganga has no price. There is absolutely nothing he needs which you can give him to influence him. I said, you are right. They have read you, isn't it? But for them to reach that level, they need to see you seeing money and living it. You need to be tell they say, this guy cannot be touched with money. Am I communicating? Yeah. There are some women teachers who want to throw themselves on your direction, thinking in the process you recommend their promotions. But they only need to watch the way you treat your wife, the way you talk about your wife. And you hapa, hakuna. Don't try. No need of. We are talking about ethics and principles, core values. And when you have them, by the way, it's easy to say this is my core value. That's not where the problem is practicing it. My children used to call it the D word, discipline. What is discipline? Discipline is when you do something which you don't enjoy doing, but you still do it because it's important. What is discipline? Discipline is doing something which you don't enjoy doing, but you are doing it because it's important to do it. Not communicating. If you are doing something you enjoy, that's not discipline. It is when you have decided it's my core values, and even when it hurts, I'll still do it. That's the message of Psalms chapter 15. By the way, can you go and bring the books we had in the car? Because I have written it in a book on Psalm 15. Maybe now that I've remembered, I will leave the books with Madame. So we're talking about leading yourself. And we are saying you will lead, and I'm quoting D. Hawk, leading yourself means not only your purpose, but ethics and principles. Next is leading your motivation. What makes you lead? Do you have internal or external motivation? Why do you do what you do? Because of the salary? Because of the promotion? What about if the promotion doesn't come? You don't get motivated. I was just told you I was district manager, but after several promotions, I became district manager, and for the next 8 years, because from then, it's only the top 5, and there was no opportunity coming. So for 8 years, I was there, middle management, and I'm not getting to the top. So somebody just came one day and said, Mr. Nganga, you work so hard, but you never reach there. Why do you work so hard? I told him, because I don't work for them. I work for God. Yes. My motivation is not the promotion. My motivation is to honor God. And as long as I know I have done right, I sleep every day happy. With or without promotion. Am I communicating? My friend, pity yourself if what motivates you is external. Because once you discover they are the motivators, they will play with you like a hoe. Because when they want to promote it, they promise. When they want to ask you, they say never. And your joy will go up and down. But when you have a motivation, the trust in God, He never changes. The same yesterday, today, and forever. So you leading yourself means being self-motivated or God-motivated. And that's very important to be asking yourself exactly where is it? What is it that is making me motivated or not motivated? And that will be very, very, very important. The title of my book is Integrity, the Litmus Test of Good Leadership. You can't be a good leader until you have core values that you live by, is what my book is mentioning. And it uses Psalms 15 in order to explain it. So your motivation. And it's a very important thing to understand, my friend, that if you don't have that, there's a problem. You know, I talk a lot in the universities, and you know the trouble with the university is that after being managed all the while, you finally go to university and there's no management. You can go to class, not go to class, nobody cares. As long as you appear for the exam and you have done all the tests. Now, the child was not used to that. They used to be managed by somebody. Now the university, nobody. Have you seen how many people have been ruined in the university years? It's because in primary school, they never learn to lead themselves. Because a time comes when the child will have to lead themselves. And that's what happens in the university. Of course, some universities even try to ask the parents. And surely, the parent and the boy are both having beards. Why would you call a parent to look after another person with beards? By the time your child has beards, he should know how to lead by learning to motivate you. Do you know there are people who deliberately fail the exams in order to discourage their parents? Utaniona. You did not buy what I told you. I will fail flatly. Warn them. It's so foolish, but they do it. Have you heard of it? Yeah. They don't, and they are hoping that when it is announced they were number last in the class, the parents will be embarrassed. Do you know these days, before the results come out, some parents are diarrheaing, and the boy is still enjoying. Because it's like the parents who want sitting the exam. That's a problem. You need to train children to have their own self-motivation. Not wait for external. But let's not talk about them. Let's talk about you. There are many people who, if the deputy director does not say you are doing well, you stop doing well only. Now surely, she doesn't even know you are there. If she has as many teachers, head teachers as she was telling us. So you are complaining about nothing. Now, you need to come to where you don't do things because you are told. You do them because you want to do them. That's what D. Hawk is talking about. And also watching your conduct is the last time. That's why you're taking 50% of your time doing all that. He then says, having used 50% to lead yourself, at least invest 20% leading those with authority over you. So far you are not worrying about the teachers in the staff room. You have used 50% of the time leading yourself, 20% leading your bosses. Am I communicating? Yeah, because you see, if you don't know how to manage your boss, there will be problems. They will keep interfering with your work. You need, and how do you manage your boss? Sorry, your boss is seated on my right. But but maybe I should have the freedom to continue talk. Is that okay? Yeah, 3 things you need to do to manage your boss. Number 1, do so well that even if they want to micromanage you, they keep discovering how useless it is to micromanage you. Because you are okay on your own. When you make your boss not trust you, they will micromanage you. Am I right? Yeah, for example, there are some reports, you feel. If you have a school that always feels them late, what happens? They will not call anybody except you. And that adds stress on you. But if you are the type who finishes and gives it, before they want to call you, you are called. You don't give them the privilege of calling you. So can you see, simply by ensuring you create trust. And trust is not a gift. Trust is earned. So when your supervisor trusts you, you know there are people who give you a report and want to check it line by line, isn't it? The others who give you a report and you pretend to check it. You just go through page. Oh, where am I signing? You sign. Have you read it? You trust the guy so much that you don't read line by line. But for you to reach that level, you have to earn it. Am I right? But you have a much easier time. Other than somebody else who brings a report and you told come tomorrow. Another day to be wasted so that the person can read. So you need to ensure you earn the trust. That is how to manage your supervisor, number 1. Number 2, offer, if you are not offered, some performance management system. In other words, don't allow the boss to determine when you perform well or not. If they don't give you a performance ratings, tell them, by the way, this term or this year, these are the things I want to achieve. This is the way I will measure when I've achieved them, and this will be my target. Send it. You have created your own supervision. Am I right? So if they think that your measures are not good, they can comment on them. What is done, you have just taken away their power to say whether you performed well or not. Because performing well is under your control. Am I right? That's the way to manage your boss. When you agree up front how to measure whether you are performing well. Thirdly and importantly, something that I did very regularly when I now do consultants work, but when I was working, I did it regularly. Whenever you discuss with your boss verbal instructions, always write a file note. What's a file note? A note to the file. In other words, you are not writing to the person, because after all, the matters were discussed. You are actually just simply saying, Madam, I heard you, and these are the things we agreed to do, and I'm going to do it. Thank you. So you are not asking a question, you are simply recording what was agreed. Now, once you put your copy and their copy, they don't have an alternative of saying, that's not what I told you. So you wrote it down. So you gave a copy. If your understanding was wrong, they would have told you, that's not what I actually said. Am I communicating? You are in the process disempowering your supervisor to micromanage you. Have you heard the 3 points? And in the process, almost all my bosses used to say, but Wanga, why always giving me a file note? I said, ignore it. It's for me. But I just wanted you to have a copy of what I'm doing. It's important. Don't try to hide information. Because the day a matter will rise, and it had happened, and you never copied the boss, he will come to you like a ton of bricks, and you created it yourself. D-Hawk is saying, use 20% of your time wondering, am I managing my bosses? And your bosses include the TSC, they also include the ministry, am I right? They also include the chief of the area, they might include the MP of the area. Are those all people who can interview? They are called stakeholders. Manage them. Don't allow them to manage you. Instead, but it sounds strange because you are managing your managers. I'm not communicating. But that is what he is saying. If you want to actually be a good leader, you must learn how to lead those with authority over you. Finally, 15% of your time must be used to lead your peers. You have people who are at the same level of you. You are not their bosses, but they are the neighboring other head teachers in your zone or whatever. Other people, learn how to deal with them. These people are the ones who can tell you, by the way, this form that was sent, I'm finding it difficult to fill, but this is the way I'm doing it. So nobody is the boss of the other, but you are consulting one another. Invest time to create rapport with the people who are your peers. Now, if you have 50 plus 20 plus 15, what do you have? Who are the mathematicians, the bangers? 50 plus 20 plus 15. How much time are you left with to now manage your staff? 15%. I'm not communicating. So that way, it tells you, you must, the same way you created how to manage your bosses, you agree with your staff, how they can manage themselves. I'm not communicating. Empower them. Don't micromanage them. If you don't micromanage them, and they learn you trust them, and they learn you commend them, always look for opportunity to catch them doing well. Don't be looking for opportunity to catch them doing. If you catch them doing wrong, that's okay. But your real interest is to catch them doing good and say, Marine, the 37 teacher, I was so happy. I found the class totally quiet. We all looking at the teacher. Well done, Mr. 37 teacher. And you say it in the staff room. When everybody comes here, what do you think that will happen that evening? You will go home and tell the wife, today is chapati. The headmaster talked about me. Do you think he'll ever do wrong in his class? Did that cost you anything? No. you learn how to appreciate people. And I don't have enough time to go through it. I'm measuring my time. I want to use 40 minutes. And my 40 minutes are over. I see you want us to have question time. Let's look at why is it so important to lead yourself. I'm reading Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 11. The race is not for the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise or war to the brilliant or favor to the learned, but time and chance happens to them all. That is Solomon saying. The truth is, we all get the same opportunities. We all get the same time. Nobody has more than 24 hours a day. Am I right? We all have the same time. But unfortunately, Solomon, the great teacher, discovered the race is not for the swift. Somebody much better than you might not get to your level. It's all determined by how he leads himself. It's so unfortunate sometimes when you know a child who is very bright, but because they are not managing their revision, in the actual exam, they get a B when you know their A material. Does that happen? So it's exactly the same with you as a headmaster, as a head teacher. You can be much more gifted than teacher B. But because you don't know how to lead yourself, you get angry until get angry and you start burning walls. Then you have to go to hospital with bandages. And nobody beat you. You beat yourself. That is lack of leading yourself. So this one is saying the race is not for the swift. You may be swift, but you still don't win. The battle is not for the strong. You may be strong, but you don't know how to use your strength well. Nor does food come to the wise. You may be wise, but food doesn't come to you. Nor wealth to the brilliant. You may be brilliant, but you don't actually get wealth. So you need to know the difference is not what you have. And I think we have covered that quite a bit. That what you have is adequate to do the task. As long as you don't compare yourself with others, you keep improving. What should disappoint you is that I'm not doing well this year as I did last year. As long as you're improving, even if you're not as good as Mutoma, you're not doing as well as Mutoma. Mutoma is none of you are told. Am I right? So you should work to keep improving yourself continuously and checking whether you're... Now, as I finish, self-leadership takes us from a command and control perspective. You are not just commanding yourself, to a self that focuses on stubbornly directing through willpower, which is self-management. In other words, we are talking about you determining what my purpose in life is, what my vision in life is, and pushing yourself even when you don't feel like pushing yourself. That is self-leadership. Self-leadership is taking us from a command and control perspective. It's not just commanding or waiting for commands. Of self that focuses on stubbornly directing through willpower. We need to move from there to a model of inspiring and influencing us for our better selves. In other words, self-leadership is creating a motivation within you to be what your target is to be. In other words, it's not just pushing yourself, but pushing yourself for a reason. Am I clear now? That's what we are talking about. Because leaders are strategic. Everything they do is because of the purpose, the strategic intent. Have something you want to be in life, have something you want to achieve, having something you believe God created you for. And you're always checking, not what others are doing, but how am I aligned to that purpose. As I go towards finishing, the greatest enemy to self-leadership, I want to list the greatest enemy to self-leadership is number one, entitlement mentality. What is entitlement mentality? Feeling like, but I'm the headmaster. Therefore, you know, there are even some headmasters who make other teachers their cooks. Hey, Maureen, but you haven't brought me tea. She's employed to teach Saturday 7, but in addition to Saturday 7 is to make tea for the headmaster because he is entitled. That's not in her job description. She will bring you tea, but in the process she knows you are manipulating her. Am I communicating? So entitlement mentality makes you want others to serve you. And this thing has become so big that these days I go to speak at university and the students asking me, Mr. Nganga, may I carry your Bible? Of course I don't have a Bible because everything ends up in like a small thing. It has a Bible, it has my notes, so it's in my pocket, but the students are looking for a Bible to carry. I say, why do you want to carry my Bible? In order to tap into your anointing. Total nonsense. The only you can get God's anointing is by pleasing Him. Even if you please me, I will stay with my anointing. But some pastors have given the impression that if you carry their Bible, you'll get any. That's manipulating people. And it comes from entitlement. My friend, you can't manage yourself when you are allowing others to manage you. You know, the other day I heard of a boy who actually ended up dying because as a man he could not go to the kitchen, and because he was diabetic, and then the sister never stand up. She went, they were all teenagers. He stayed too long without food until he went into whatever diabetic something coma is concerned. They rushed him to the hospital. It was too late. The guy died. That is called entitlement to death. Am I communicating? So you need to ask yourself, what are the issues you can do for yourself, but you're not doing why I am the head teacher? Am I communicating? So you need to know, you can never manage yourself with that entitlement mentality. It's one of the most dangerous things. One young person was talking to me recently because they think their employer has not pleased them, and they know the employer is my friend, and they know I'm a muzee, so they wanted me to reconcile. So I said, what's the issue? But you know, he did. And I said, can we meet? Because I can't hear one side and make a decision. We can meet the three of us. He says, no, you know, I'm not talking about myself. Me, I come from privilege. My parents are rich. Even that money he is owing me is very little. I'm talking on behalf of the people who suffer because of their background. What is that called? Entitled. The lady is entitled. Where their issue is, they look down on others. They are both workmates, but because they come from a rich father, they think the others require help. She doesn't require help, and she has now become their spokesman. I said, but I don't, if it's a union matter, that union has a system, isn't it? I was coming as a Christian elder to help. But if you are a union, I leave you to your union. Now you need to understand that the entitlement mentality will mess you up. You know, your wife can't bring you food, but she gives you with the left hand. So I can't eat. Who will go hungry? Yourself. Surely, food with the left hand is a sweeter food with the right. But because of your worldview, do you remember worldview? Worldview taught you that women must give their food with their. Ask yourself, where is that in the Bible? Number 2, is there scientific evidence that right food should stay sweeter than left food? You are a whole headmaster being foolish. It's very important to understand entitlement will make you act very foolishly. In a real thing problem, you ask what happened. Oh, she gave me the food with the left. That's why you change the identity formula, yes. What do you think people will think? And you are a whole headmaster, but because of entitlement, you are acting foolishly. My friend, many things go wrong. Like, for example, a teacher passed you without greeting you. You're in church, she just passed and never greeted you. You come to the office and says, I was in your church. How come you never greeted me? Is there any requirement that you must be greeted? Is that part of the TSC code of ethics? And you know there are teachers who have been punished by head teachers because of not. Now that is called entitlement. When people learn that, oh, you know mwalimu was, and in Somea, kwa nini sikumsalimia? What do you think the others will do? They see here, they run. You are lonely. Who caused the loneliness? And you only did it to one teacher, but the message passed through the whole staff room of your entitlement mentality. If you want to drive yourself, you must take responsibility for yourself. Have no rights of your own. I'm not communicating. Run your own life. Don't wait for another to run it. Of course, I'm not suggesting you refuse your wife to cook for you, but you should know how to cook also in case she's on strike. It's very important to understand. It's very important to understand lack of entitlement means I don't live there waiting for others. You should know, I used to tell my staff that any supervisor must know what their staff do. To the extent, if the guy refuses to come to work, the work will still continue. The only difference is that your staff are better than you because they have been doing it for a long time. Am I right? Mm-hmm. But when you go into it, and that has happened. I was the manager, I told you, in Kisumu. One day, Mumia Sugar, which was the biggest sugar company in Kenya, ran out of a certain lubricant. And they ran me over, I think on Saturday morning, that the factory is closing. If the factory closes, to reopen it costs millions of shillings. Do you know, I took my daughter and we drove to the depot. I told the guys to come with a pickup. It was me to do the whole process because it's a Sunday. It was Saturday afternoon. There was nobody in the depot. Now, if you don't even know how to fill an invoice, there will be chaos, isn't it? So you should at least know to do. That means if a teacher doesn't teach mathematics, you can actually replace him. It may not be as good as him, but the class will still run. But some of you, I'm a headmaster. Why was the class not taught? The teacher was sick. And you? You know the main job of a teacher, of a headmaster teacher, is to facilitate teaching. Am I right? How do you facilitate teaching if you continue sitting in the office and there's a class without? And why are you not teaching? I am the head teacher. Head teacher means the big teacher. So you're also a teacher. Am I communicating? So the entitlement will take you a different direction from, and I'm not suggesting there are no union requirements for TSC. I'm not replacing the contract. There's a contract that says this is what I'll do there and the TSC will do the following. But you should have the ability to do what you're motivated to do, whether they do it or, but within a year you resign. But before you resign, continue doing what needs to be done, but you know you are not staying. You are going to resign. I don't have enough time to deal with this, but it has totally destroyed our country. Entitlement mentality. There are people who are not succeeding in life and they are basically wrong. But you know the TSC did not do. You know the education officer did not do. You know the sub-county director did not do. You know, what about you? Can't you do with or without them? But that does not mean they will not be held accountable for what they are supposed to do. But in the meanwhile, your teachers and your students will never discover a problem. Because you are the one who will ensure whatever the top does, their work will actually continue. Am I communicating? That's what means to manage yourself. Because the moment you are entitled, then the one with whom you are entitled can now manipulate you. Am I communicating? So you need to come to where, and I have run out of time. Number two, entitlement mentality, I have told you, is that idea of feeling, I can't do that. Who is it to do that to me? That. The next one is finding someone else to blame. I can tell you one of the worst things is to fail in something and then realize it's because of my parents. And that I have found with a lot of young people. You know the kind of primary school they took me. You know the kind of high school they took me. By the way, let's agree clearly that it's sure your background is important. But your background does not determine your future unless you allow it. Am I communicating? Yes. Let me repeat. Your history is important, but it can only determine your future if you allow it. That happens. Somebody told me even yesterday. I was brought up by a single lady. Okay, so what? No wonder you're having problem in our marriage because both of us, my husband and I, were brought by single ladies. I said, I asked the person actually this week. Now, if you are brought up by a single lady, have you read books on marriage? Do you belong to a couple's fellowship? The answer was no. If you know what your parents failed to do, why are you doing nothing about it? Am I communicating? You know your headmaster in your primary school was terrible. Don't copy him. No, but that I learned from a bad headmaster. Yes, you did. Now that you know he was a bad headmaster, why are you copying him? So it's important to understand this issue of whenever you find somebody to blame, it is the beginning of you stopping to progress. Because the reason you progress is, I cannot have done that. God forgive me. I intend to change. But if instead of saying, God forgive me, you say, but I did it because of so and so. The moment you have somebody to blame, you can never improve. Because you feel you have an excuse. Am I right? So one of the things that stop your self-leadership is finding somebody to blame. Always understand, yes, there is contributory negligence. Somebody else failed, but you have actually failed because of that. For example, your father was a drunkard, and he really used your school fees. You really suffered getting educated. Why do you drink? Because my father drank. Now, if you went without school fees because of your father, how come you also drinking? Am I communicating? So you need to understand, you need to come to where the reason I drink is not my father. The reason I drink is because I saw my father and I was foolish enough to copy him. The problem is not my father, it is my foolishness. The moment you accept that you are foolishness, will you drink again? No. Oh, but you know my mother got a child before she was wedded. The other day I was counseling some people, and because the girl was pregnant, and then we were together, my husband, they were together with her. Now, do you know what he said? She just said, but even then, they got me out of wedlock. I thought people have become very daring. I said, respect your father at least. It is my wife said, surely. Can't you see you are born by love? These are two people who loved each other and fell into sin. But they were responsible enough to wed and bring you. Now you are getting a child out of exactly or even copying your parents. But of course, by that time they are looking down. It's so embarrassing for your adult child to talk like that. But do you think she'll get children about to like, why? I have somebody to blame. And whose life is being messed? Whose life is being blamed? The parents? The same thing with you as the headmaster. The moment TSC is the one you are blaming, you have just ruined your own future. You need to blame TSC where they are, but then ask yourself, is there something I can do about it? Yes. If you don't do what you can do, stop blaming the TSC, start blaming, and you start doing something about it. And it's important, that's important. And I need to be very careful. I'm not suggesting a contractual obligation should not be carried by whoever owns it. But in the process, because you are leading yourself, you will say, yes, they are to blame, but this is what I will do about their blame. Yes, they have failed, but this is what I will do because of it. If I don't do it, I no longer blame them, I blame myself. Like that girl should have simply admitted, she went sleeping with boys who are not her husbands, isn't it? It is irresponsible to start blaming their parents. Because they are not there. It was her and the boy, am I right? So it's important to understand how dangerous this is. So if you're talking about self-leading, you must stop finding somebody to blame. If your mean score is very mean, ask yourself, what can I do? It is true you don't have the equipment Kajai Primary School has. I agree. We're not discussing Kajai, we're discussing your school. What do you have? What can you do? And don't try to do as well as Kajai, do better than your last term's results. All you require is not to beat other people, is to beat yourself. That's really what matters in life. And I think we discussed it last time I was here. So that's the second problem that you must learn to deal with. The temptation is, even at my age, I went to school, like I told, 1958 is the first time I appeared in school. I was born 1952. But I still struggle with it. I feel like, if only. And sometimes it is true. My if only is true. But the truth is, I soon will think, what can I do about it? Have I done what I could do? Number 3, one of the things that will stop you managing yourself is being an optimist. One of the most dangerous things is to be an optimist. Who is an optimist? An optimist is somebody who never sees anything going wrong. He always thinks are going to go right. Are they not improving? Yes. Why? Because I think so. Now, have you met people optimists? In fact, the moment you tell them, by the way, so they're going to improve, what are you doing about it? Don't be negative. Do you have friends like that? Every time you ask them questions, they say you are being negative. If you are married to somebody like that, please accept my sympathy. But it's a very serious issue. When people are, it's one of the words, by the way, you cannot be a Christian and be an optimist. Because Bible does not teach us that. You go to Philippians chapter 4 from verse 6. It is saying, don't be anxious. Instead, by prayer and supplication, make your request known to God. What that means is that you accept you have a problem. But instead of being anxious, make it a prayer request. But optimists have no prayer request. You see, you don't see anything going wrong, so I disturb God. That's an optimist. He's always smiling on his way to the fire. Because he can't see the fire coming. How can the fire come? Don't you know who I am? Yeah, but fire has killed other people. It can also kill you. So you cannot manage yourself if you are an optimist. By the way, you can't lead yourself well if you are a pessimist either. Who is a pessimist? A pessimist is somebody who thinks everything must go bad. You know, a pessimist, if you're married to one, just accept my sympathy. Because you buy your wife a dress from London, and it's a beautiful dress. She has never worn like that. The first question is, where did you buy this one? London, one of the shops. Tell me exactly what did you do in London that caused you to buy this dress. Her mind is, there is no way you can buy this dress unless you are trying to bribe me. The dress becomes the beginning of trouble in that marriage. Because you bought her a dress. Because you never see the possibility. You say, can I take you out? I don't know what the best hotel is in Meru County. What's the best hotel called? Alba. I'm taking you to Alba. Exactly where you took somebody yesterday, isn't it? They can't believe that you can save your money just to take her to Alba. Am I communicating? But there are people exactly like that. They always think negative. The TSC issues a good letter, and you say, there must be something they want from us. TSC, such a letter. Please think. Those are people that are pessimists. Pessimists do not see God doing miracles. That's why a pessimist cannot be a Christian. Because a pessimist always thinks, but the God we believe in is a miraculous God. So you never reach a level where you assume things must go wrong. You can see the possibility of them going wrong, but that, according to Philippians 4:6, you then turn it into prayer. Am I communicating? But if you cannot lead yourself until you become a realist. Who is a realist? A realist is a person, and this is written in my book on King David. I have a book called Leadership King David Style. And I look at the life of David and say he was not a pessimist, he was not an optimist, he was a realist. Who is a realist? A realist is a person who approaches an issue optimistically, step number one, then approaches it pessimistically, then comes up to a realistic situation. Am I communicating? If you really are leading yourself, you must look at every issue with its reality. What can go well and what can go, and both of them must be looked at together. To be an optimist who never assumes anything can go wrong. Now, are you following what was said? No. I know I told them. No, you see, if you are a good leader who is leading yourself well, you know you are human, other people are human, so you keep checking whether what you told them they understood. Are we together? Finally, and I finish with this, inability to manage expectations. We are still answering the question, what can you stop you from leading yourself well? Inability to manage expectations. In other words, you expected certain results, they didn't come, you now want to commit suicide. You expected certain results, they didn't come, you want to murder somebody. For example, you married a guy, he promised you heavens, he has given you hell. You start imagining what went wrong. Now, please, like again, Dr. Gadere, I used to really enjoy talking to him. He died in his 80s, and before he died, he told us, everybody is married to two women. One, the real one in his bed. Another one, the one he imagined he would marry. The two women are with him. And normally you get that picture from the first wedding you attended. The bride was so beautiful. They were smiling. So imagine even you when you marry a bride. What you didn't understand is just a white dress. When they went home, she was herself. So when you have become herself, you have a problem. And he said, if you want peace in your marriage, please divorce one of the two women. There is no you have peace as long as you have two women. The shadow, imaginary one, or the real one. Now my friend, if you divorce the real one, there will still be nobody in your bed. So it's only wise that you divorce the imaginary one. Then you deal with this one. By the way, the moment you find the real one, what will happen? Your expectations will change because you'll not be expecting an angel. You know she is not an angel. You know she gets angry. You know sometimes she forgets to shower. Now, the moment you realize who your real wife is, and you know her, everything she does excites you. Am I communicating? She's still the same woman, but because you have reassigned your expectations to her rather than the dream, you enjoy her, isn't it? But I mean the same for women. The trouble is you wanted to marry a bank, and you assume the guy was a bank. But in reality, you have discovered he is a pauper. Now, so you're always dissatisfied. Why did I marry him? Just forget the angel, come to this guy who is a pauper. The moment you know he's a pauper, you know how to manage him. Am I right? And you will enjoy your marriage. The same thing with your school. You expected the school to be a certain type. It isn't. Now come down and look at your new school. Create new expectations. Now once you have those expectations, every time something happens, you enjoy it. I hear the TSC has something about getting people out of their county. What is that thing called?
Nationalization.
Delocalization.
Nationalization.
Oh, it's called nationalization. Okay, nationalization. So when they nationalize you to Madeira, my friend, the family has to be dissatisfied, isn't it? Your children are not like married children. So reassign expectations to the Somali children. The moment your expectations are Somali children, every time they do something little, you'll be excited. Am I right? That's really what you're talking about. When you do that, it helps you to lead yourself. And unfortunately, I've taken much more time than I had hoped. But my prayer is that I have said something that can help you, either as a teacher or a husband or a parent. Mine cuts through all of them. When you lead yourself, then allow others to lead you. And before you go managing your school, first of all, manage. Okay, I think we'll allow 2 or 3 questions. If I said something that doesn't have meaning, I need to assign meaning to it. And I was not preaching, I was talking. Normally when you are talking, you allow questions. Am I right? Yeah, so any question, any comment that... we are finishing in less than 10 minutes, but let's allow questions. If there's something you understood very well that has helped you, it can be a comment. If you say in your words, others might understand it better than when I spoke. So you can repeat what I said, but in your own words. Alternatively, it can be a question. It can also be a disagreement. Mwalimu, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it can work. All of those are allowed. Our subject is about leading yourself. Any comment, any question? Either you understood nothing I said, or you understood everything I said, or you did not even like it at all. Which of the 3 is it? Was it useful? Yes. Now, if you have answered that question, you have given me the freedom to ask, how did you find it useful? 3 people stand up and tell us what you found useful in the talk. Yes. So you told me it was useful. Yes. Yeah, so how was it useful? And I'm starting with one person on this side, then another person on this side. Who represents this side? Say it in your own words. Out of the many things, one thing that you found useful. Just stand up.
Okay. Sir, let me say also.
Yes.
I have always thought that being optimistic is positive, But I have understood today you can be optimistic and still be messy with things.
Yes.
At least it has balanced me. Now I will understand how to use that to become optimistic.
And you now know you need to be realistic.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Can we clap for him? At least he was listening. Okay, someone from this side? Yes, madam. You need to be louder for the person at the back.
It is because I am doing something wrong, but
Yeah.
let me say all protocols observed.
Oh, okay, okay.
Now, there's this question. One thing I am very, very grateful personally, because I am able to see where I have been mismanaging myself for the last several years. And believe it or not, I will lead a better life from now on.
Hallelujah.
I will manage myself before I manage others.
Thank you very much. Can we clap for her? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, Mr. Ngang,
Yes.
supposing we replaced this one of optimism,
Yeah.
with your permission, and called it a carefree attitude. I don't know why I still
Call it what?
a carefree attitude. Because I am thinking that optimism is something good. I don't know.
But you have just said what's wrong with it, isn't it?
No, but no.
I know what you want. Redefine the word optimist. But unfortunately, it's defined by the dictionary. And an optimist is a person who always thinks that sees things turning. But the reality of life, according to the Bible, according to the book of Job, according to the reality of life, is that God, when I was growing up, you may be seated. When I was growing up, my mother always sang a song, which I thought, you know, when she's in the garden. The other day I thought, that song entered my mind. Gike no nambe na shukaga kore inyue ciana cia Ngai kiare muheaga oya Ngai na ngatho. Ever heard the song? And I thought, when I got saved, I thought, that's a negative song. How could anybody write a hymn like that? But now I'm about 70. At my age, I've seen it happen. The reality is, difficult times have come in my years. So to talk like I have not experienced, I have a problem. To be a realist does not mean to be negative. To be a realist does not mean not to be optimistic. It is to be optimistic realistically. Am I communicating? Yeah, but if you are simply optimistic, and some people are so proud, I'm so positive. But the most positive people are the ones who end up in depression. Because when the thing finally happens, they never prepared for it. Am I communicating? Yeah, they never prepared for it. Because in their expectation were not realistic. So that's why I fear. And you know, a lot of preachers are in that group. It's being called wealth and health gospel. Where they are promising, come to Jesus, everything will turn right. You're just preparing people to backslide. Because that's not in the Bible. You come to Jesus and many things become even worse. Yes. The only difference is, He has promised you peace beyond understanding. Am I communicating? That means some things will go wrong, but if you are realistic, you will still be at peace. That's what He has promised. Now, to tell people that there is a land of only all things standing, well, is to cheat them. I'll give you 3 reasons why I don't speak like that. Number 1, my own life. I've had many challenges. There's a time I visited the doctor and the doctor says, hey, no, I don't like what I see. What do you see? Ah, you have something terminal. That's about 25 years ago. And you know, you feel, hey, I was in my 40s. Hey, that's serious. Until I realized I'm not a pessimist. The God I believe in is a miracle working God. So the fact that He has said it's terminal, that is the doctor talking using science. But God goes beyond science. So simple, after the first checking, I left it in God's hands. If you want me to go home earlier, why do I mind going home? The earlier, the better. But if you have work for me to do, including coming to Kiajai today, you must find a way of sorting me out. Has He sorted me out? Yes. See, I'm here. He's not a ghost. It's you. It's me. So So that's what taught me. So the first thing is my experience does not promise anybody. Think positively, everything will turn right. It is not true. Why lie to people? Anybody who is around that years knows the truth. Am I right? Number two, all the biographies I've read of great men of God, whether you talk about, since you're MCK, John Wesley. See, John Wesley is one of the founders. You know, for example, they say he has one of the worst marriages in history of the world. You know, John Wesley had one of the worst marriages. Anyway, if you are founder, you should read his biography. He went through difficult times in his marriage life, despite the fact that he married late in his 40s. Now, the truth is, I have not read one guy whose life was optimistic. So how come I'm telling people, and all the great men of God had challenges. So who is this God who is now going to behave differently? And I promise somebody, nothing will ever go wrong. Now don't promise. Because you'll be lying to the person. And that's one of the things why I look at people's biography. Number three, I go to the Bible. If everything will move right, God must apologize to Job. Because we are told Job was righteous, so he was okay. We know that, isn't it? Did he have a good time? So which God are you talking about? So you need to understand, to be an optimist is to be an unbeliever. Believers believe the Bible, not themselves. If you believe the Bible, you know there will be peace beyond understanding. But the reason it is being called beyond understanding is because of the challenges you will face. And in the middle of the challenge, you are still smiling. Because you have peace beyond understanding. Have I explained now? You must be optimistic realistically. Now you understand. Now you can see she has given me the opportunity to explain myself. Can you clap for her? Now because of that, I now need somebody on this side. Because I now realize your comments can help me. Anybody wants to comment from this side? In other words, what did you learn? I'm looking for somebody at the back. You're nominating your neighbor. You're looking at him. Okay, let him stand up and say something. Just stand up. Oh yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I've learned so much from you. And the first thing that I've learned is that each of us was born to solve a certain problem.
Yes.
That we are living in this world for something we should do.
Thank you. And that you will not retire from. You will do it until you
I
die.
will do it.
Thank you very much. And the final last person on this side, towards the back. Anybody? Yes. Anything you have learned?
Yes, I have learned that before we pay bills, you stay and touch your titles, do verification, and it doesn't do it. Before you became a believer, success was all about growing yourself.
Thank you.
But I have learned that now, as a leader, success is all about growing others.
Thank you very much. Can we clap for them? Thank you very much. The meeting is back to MC.
Thank you very much. I'm not the MC. The MC is appointing